right up at the top. Welcome everybody to Seattle Chad, March 7th, 2024. And we're so glad to see everybody. If you can sign in here, I'll occasionally put the code into the chat so that you can use the link instead of the QR code. But if you can sign in, that helps us track in, attendance better. And real quickly about us, I'm Beth Barding, and I am the founder of Seattle Chad and also a neurodiversity speaker and advocate. I'm a co-chair with Suzanne Sophos on the Chad Chapter Advisory Board and also on the King County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And Jessica, I don't think Jessica's here. Don't see her yet. Jessica Hespelt is our parents coach, parents support group lead. And we are going down that way. Yay, touchscreen. Okay, so one more time for signing in. And welcome to LA Chad. Suzanne, thank you for inviting your members tonight. I know they're going to love the presentation. If they've haven't had a chance to see Melissa yet, they're going to love it. So I love having you guys here. And I'm not going to take a lot of time tonight. Welcome, Melissa Reskof. I will
happy to see my LA people, happy to see some Seattle people. Yeah. So nice.
It's so good. I will continue to put things into the chat, and I'm going to turn it over to Melissa since we're getting off to a late start. I'm going to let her go ahead and get started. And I think without further ado, I'm just checking the list there.
What's that? What are you writing down?
My chocolate.
Oh, let's go ahead.
Great. Well, you just use that tonight so that I can do this. Oops.
Hi. Let's see who else needs. There we go. I'm just going to mute everybody. There we go. Let me see if I can unmute Melissa.
I'm good.
You're good, Melissa? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let you, I'm going to stop sharing. You can share and go ahead and take it away, okay?
Sure. Great to see everybody today. I'm like, oh, should I wear my hair down? But it keeps getting bigger. So we'll see how comfortable and uncomfortable I can get with that. So I came here to talk about sleep. Luckily, not about hair. So I think just to set the table a little bit, when I was growing up, my mother would refer to me as the sleepless wonder. The sleepless wonder. I have an older sister, not a sleepless wonder, and she's 7 years older than me. So when she was growing up, she wanted to stay up later, and she talked to my mother and said, my mother made her a deal. If you can stay up all night, you can set your bedtime. She never made that offer to me because she thought I could do it. And what was I doing while I was busy not sleeping? In the boring days before the internet, I literally was like reading the encyclopedia. I literally was doing kooky reading and learning and dictionary and word origins. Those things tickled my brain. So, yes, I was once called the sleepless wonder. I have only had one real serious bout with insomnia. My sleep problem really, I think, is very common, and maybe a lot of people in the room will identify is, oh yeah, it's that time I meant to go to sleep. But, this show I'm watching, this game I'm playing, some me time, the house is quiet. So I think most of the people I run into, that's the sleep problem. But in ADHDville, where we live, there are other things that come with the ADHD that can be sleep disturbances. There's a lot of things, not a huge number, but the same issues that give us the ADHD, around things around dopamine, brain structure, genes. These are the same things that impact our sleep. There's not really a wind down for us, on or off. And does it look fun to go to sleep? It depends on each of us. All right, so Sleepless Wonder. I'll share some screen. I have a little order of operations I do whenever I'm leading anything. So we'll just have a bite of that apple together. Here we go.
Hey, Melissa, while you're setting things up, I wanted to ask, how do you want people to ask questions? Typically, when you and I work together, they can put it in the chat. I'll work on that for you, but do you want?
That's exactly, we're gonna do it. All roads lead to Rome. So
Gotcha.
here's, I like to tell everybody everything up front, right? There's a lot of people like to keep their cards close to the vest. I'm not one of those people. So I'm gonna dork around with my screen a little bit, because what I like to do is have everybody who likes to have their face on the screen where I can see you, see your reactions, see how it's landing, see if there's nods, that kind of thing. I know we're mostly don't want our faces on screen, probably we're eating. But if you've got your face, I can get your feedback that way. So Sleepless Wonder, from Sleepless Wonder to Well Rested, an ADHDer's Journey. Okay, so, or the real name of this, which is Sleep Basics for all people, then some ADHD friendly tools and special concerns. So here's my agenda. Welcome one and all. We'll do a transition activity right after this slide. We'll do some box breathing. I like to do self-check-in at everything. It just gets people to start to have a habit of noticing how they feel. We'll do the presentation. I invite you to ask your questions as they arise. If you want to use the chat, if you want to unmute yourself and clear your throat because I didn't notice you, that's fine with me too. I know there's about 20 people in the room. I still think that's cozy enough. If it starts to get a little cuckoo, then maybe we'll ask you to raise your hand using either the electronic tool or your real hand. So that's my preference, is to let's just do the questions as they come up. Oh, and I'm looking at the chat and I see someone has mentioned that their medication changed and it impacted their sleep, and there's this TV binging and time tracking. And I will say I had almost an identical experience. I changed my medication. The doctor really wanted me to try the extended release, and for about a month, it just didn't, my sleep wasn't right. It wasn't its usual. But once I got that medication, everything worked itself out after a month. When I talked to the prescriber, he said, you should have said something. So mental note, you're not in it by yourself when you have a prescriber. Circle back and let them know what's happening for you. Okay, back to this. Guidelines for participation. I'll show that. Ask your questions. And I'm going to make time for us to have an open discussion. Every so often, I'll pull the slides down so that we can look at each other and talk. Off to the races. And I do see this other thing in the chat. I promise I will come back and talk about it. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna box breathing. I happen to like the slide because it's got that guy actually doing the breathing. Right? It says some of what's good about doing these breath exercises. But we're gonna do a box. We're gonna do a round of 4 of these. So it's in through the nose to a count of 4. You want a big breath. You're trying to get this to fill all the way down into your belly. You're going to hold for 4. We're going to blow it out through pursed lips, like through a straw. And then we're going to do another hold. I cannot count and do this breathing. So I am going to hold my hand up like this for the count. All right, and we're off. We're doing 4 rounds. First round, in through the nose, big breath. And now we're going to hold. And now we're going to blow it out. Now we're going to hold. Round 2, in through the nose, big breath. Hold. Blow it out through your lips. Hold. Round 3, in through the nose, big breath. Hold. Blow it out through pursed lips. Hold. Last round. In through the nose, big breath. Hold. Blow it out. All right, we've completed it. We're going to breathe normal. I actually think, hey, that feels like it needs a punctuation mark. So I invite you, if you need to stretch, maybe your neck is stiff, right? Maybe you need to shake it out. Right. Okay. Whatever we were doing, now we did all those breaths. It's done. We're here together. Okay. So that's that. Well, what else do I want to tell you about box breathing? Box breathing improves your mental well-being, heightens cognitive performance, enhances the body's future reactions to stress. I didn't make this up. And it helps deactivate fight or flight. So later in the presentation, I have a link I'll put in the chat as well. Apparently the Navy SEALs use box breathing. They do it in heats of 5 minutes. So health benefits, many people use this tool. All right. One other thing we're going to do. So I invite you, let's use the chat for this, to do a self-check-in. If you have language like I'm feeling buoyant or I'm tired, I worked all day, right? You know. So for my scale, 5's the top, energized, full of beans, ready to go. Zippity-doo-dah, whoop-de-doo, right? That end. The 1 is tired, fatigued, out of gas, low, not ready to go. That's how I like to say it. I'm at about a 4. I have some room for growth. I'm kind of an afternoon, evening person. My energy's up, and I've been looking forward to talking with you guys. So that's where I'm at, 4. I invite folks, you don't have to tell us where you're at. I will say some other things about being in a group where there's energy is, oh, that's excellent, Francis, that your 9-year-old did the box breathing. Yay. That sometimes you'll see there's other people with more ergs, right? I like energy ergs, and I like to think of them as we're bicyclists. We're doing the Tour de France, and that person's cutting the wind. We put that energetic, you go out there and cut the wind. We're all going to be able to draft off of you. So, all right, great to see. There's some energy, some tired. Hey, it's evening. 1 this week has asked more than I can give. Listen to how much self-awareness there is in that. Way to go. Good job. Couple of people with some ergs, long week, calm, not lively, but alert. I love how in touch people are. Excellent. Great. Thank you so much for sharing, for being willing to come out with this. It's a little personal. Where are you at? Okay. So we did that together. Here we are with the guidelines, right? It's nice to be nice. Let's be kind and respectful, encourage and support one another. Anything that's said here, I know there's a recording, so, but the chat is confidential. Let's be present, noticing be aware of the mood, other participants. Of course, your feelings. Please mute your line when you're not speaking and raise your hand. But it's okay with me, again, if you have a question and I didn't address it, to clear your throat. So just looking back at some of these questions here. Losing track of time at bedtime and somebody else waking up. This is an excellent thing to bring to the party. Hey, it's not me, but how am I going to manage that? Great at falling asleep, but I wake up and then my brain will immediately decide it's morning and it's time to think about everything, and I can't fall back asleep. Is, wow, vexing. Okay. All right, so we're off to the races. So we're going to start with sleep basics, and this is basic. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm also not going to go too slow because it's basic. So here we are. Lack of sleep impairs performance. It reduces, this would be anyone, not ADHDers. It's not limited to us at all. It reduces alertness. It shortens your attention span. It reduces decision-making skills. There's less memory available. We can't concentrate. More mentally stalling or fixating, right? I just got to get this one thing done. Moodiness, bad temper, loss of motivation. Well, that sounds a lot like ADHD. If you had a sleep problem, maybe it's not ADHD. All right, I'm not a doctor. I can't really say those things. I just wanted to point out these are the impacts. This is what it is if you are one of those I'll sleep when I'm dead people. Okay, that's just the truth, harsh though it may be. All right, so what are we going to do about it? Sorry, I skipped ahead. Nothing, everything's fine. It's just fine. We don't have to do anything. Okay, that's not what we came here for. Sleep basics. Get regular, right? This is the advice you see a lot of places. You have the same bedtime, get up at the same time. Your body gets a rhythm. When you're sleepy, try to go to bed then, right? A few of us will be like, ooh, but I really want to play Wordle when it comes out at midnight. You capitalize on when you're tired, when you feel sleepy. Try again. If you're awake after 20 minutes, I think that doesn't seem like enough time to fall asleep, but this is the basic. Leave your room, do something calming, right? This isn't the time to run track or rearrange your cabinets. This is some kind of quiet time. Maybe you're listening to a story you already know the end to, so it's not that exciting. And then get back in your bed. No screens, no internet, no TV. Those things have blue light. They're very stimulating, right? We're looking to calm down. All right, things to avoid: caffeine, nicotine, alcohol. We don't want to have a nightcap. Those things might look like they help you be sleepy at some point, but when they go away, it's worse. Not everyone needs to stop their caffeinated drinks. Some people do. You'll know, right? There's a lot of ADDers who are like, that doesn't bother me. I can have a cup of coffee and go right to sleep. I married that guy. Good habits. Hey, maybe you have a couple of these. You can just pat yourself on the back. The bed is just for sleep or nookie. You're not going to have your exercise mat in there. Don't have all the books piled up on one side of the bed. You sleep on the other, or your laundry's in there. The bed's just for you to sleep or have a nice time in. They say avoid naps. I personally think that this is up to the individual. Some of us, naps are our friend. Some of us, we would never nap. So, but the common wisdom is to avoid them. All right. Sleep routine, right? Developing a bedtime order of operations. A lot of us already have this. I'm going to wash my makeup off. I'm going to brush my teeth and floss. I'm going to put my jammies on. I set my phone up to charge away from where I'm sleeping. So we might already have a routine. We might not. It might be hey, I watched the first 15 minutes of Colbert and looks like I'm sleepy now, right? That seems like not a routine, but it does have some routine qualities. Okay, timing is everything. Timing is everything. All right, if you're the kind of person where you're in the bed and you can't sleep and you're looking at the clock, put the clock out of view. If this isn't your problem, then don't mess around with the clock. That's just one of those things. Exercise. Exercise not close to bedtime. This is like a morning or afternoon or early evening activity. It does help us sleep better if we've gotten exercise, or time in daylight also helps us. This bedtime snack thing, some people, yes, they sleep better. Most people out in the world, they say don't eat after a certain time, like let's say 9 p.m. You know what works for you. I will say we'll talk more about food and heartburn and other things that interrupt sleep. Okay, but avoiding a heavy meal, that seems like common sense. Okay, prepare both your mind and your sleep space, right? You need to be in the space, and the space you're going to, you want it to be a place you're interested in going. Right? A conducive sleep environment, a nice place to sleep. It's, you're not looking around the room going, ick. So you want your bed to be nice. You want the room temperature to be cool. Cool is better for sleep, not warm. Although if it's too cold, right? Clear your mind. You might want to do some breath exercises, or some meditation or some visualization, but things that make it so you're not, what's happening tomorrow and when do I need to do it? When are you rotating through that? I mean, the first day of school where you can't help it, I get it. I mean, we've all been there. But if it's always happening and you can find a strategy that works for you, like maybe looking your calendar over for the next day so you know what to expect, that might work for you. That might make you anxious and trigger you. I've given this talk before, can you tell? Someone said, I can't do that, then I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, and then the last thing here is a sleep diary. And this is ADHDers, we like to start a thing in the middle. So rather than find out how is our sleep actually, when are we really sleeping, we will set a goal. I've seen quite a few nocturnal people decide they're just going to change it all overnight, right? Which is that just doing what works for you, noticing the days when you've got a log. I wonder why that day I get enough sleep or I feel well rested. So collecting the sleep diary information helps not only identify barriers to be overcome, but what's really happening. Some of you have awareness, but not all of us, right? We think we know. And we also have some of those little ADD fibs we tell ourselves. And the log will reveal. The log will reveal. Okay, so here we are. Create a sleep haven, right? So on this one, we said the sleep space. Now I've upped the ante here. We want it to be excellent, a haven, a nice place to be. We want the space cool because it helps us fall asleep. Some people, no light, right? Any light is a distraction. Some people put blackout curtains up. My husband wears an eye mask. He really likes it dark. We have a lot of ways of making it dark in the room. I had a room in my 20s that had no natural light. It didn't have any windows. And that room was nice and dark for sleeping. You want it to be quiet. Now, there are people with tinnitus or tinnitus. So that's a whole separate thing. If there's anyone like that in the room, we'll come back around to that. Consider earplugs. Now, my husband does wear earplugs because I snore. If it's bad, I wake myself up, but that hasn't happened in a few years. So this idea of the earplugs, I could never sleep with stuff in my ears. This just wouldn't work for me. But maybe you have noise canceling headphones and you can sleep with those. Comfort, right? We want the mattress and the pillows, these things, the linens that touch us, they can't be irritating us. All of these things about making it the right place to sleep, they're important. Okay, back to the sleep diary, because there's a lot to be said about it. All right, I'm just going to eyeball the chat here for a second.
Hey, how are you? You making something?
No, I made Brussels sprouts with butter and salt.
All right, I love what I see in here. Howard, just checking. Naps can be hugely important, right? That's why I'm like, I feel like that's milk doesn't have to be warm. Right, some clock stuff. Right. Excellent. Wow. A lot of research in here. According to Dr. Becker's research, teens with ADHD got 20% less sleep than was recommended. There is a lot more studies of young people with ADHD around sleep than there are of adults who are over 20. I'm gonna need to contemplate that question a little bit, Eric. Okay. Too long to read. All right, back to the sleep diary. Now, I think this is a crucial part, right? Because I said we start in the middle. Right, ADDers will start in the middle. Hey, I want a better sleep habit, or I think I should be sleeping like other people sleep at night, even though I'm sleeping during the day, as an example. Keeping the diary, what should the diary tell you? What do we want to know? What are we looking to find out? To me, what we're looking to find out is, what's the minimum you need to have a good day? And I have some qualifications on a good day. We used to have some slang around my house about people getting fired, right? You're so cranky, you'd fire people if you were a boss, right? So minimum amount of sleep to have a good day. What's the optimal? Different from minimum, what's optimal? And discovering reoccurring barriers, things you are not aware of. This idea of the sleep diary is to increase your awareness. And another element you can discern is this optimal wake time. So I'm going to step away from the presentation and just talk to everybody for a second or two, maybe more than that. Here we go. So I originally, me and two lady friends around my age, we got together, we were tracking our sleep, and we were meditating 3 times a week together. And so in the tracking, we learned some things from tracking. One woman had a belief that if she hadn't gotten to sleep by 2 a.m., that it didn't matter what time she got to sleep. This tracking proved that that wasn't true, proved that not to be true. One woman thought, if I'm reading a good book in bed and I read too much, right? Oh, it's so juicy, I can't put it down. I'll just give myself an extra hour in the morning. And that turned out not to be true. What she learned was having the same wake time where she could get all the way conscious and do her day, that was more important than trying to squeeze in the extra hour. So this idea still of having same wake time, same bedtime, having some consistency with that. I'll say what I learned was that heartburn was waking me up all the time. I didn't even know that it was waking me up. I wake up, I would take a heartburn pill or some water and then go right back to bed. And only when we started tracking did I realize how often that was happening. And then I changed my bedtime routine. So I either had a glass of water before bed, which has its own flaws, because now I could have to wake up for that, right, to the ladies' room, or I could not eat quite so close to when I was going to bed, or I could take some sort of antacid. So making a tracker, I made my own. I will happily share with you. I'll show it to you in just a minute. But this idea, what do we want to learn from the sleep diary? I think it's an important element. And I'm peeking over at the chat. I see this anxiety around sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night and get stressed out that I'm awake. That is, I hear that more in these ADD spaces than anything except for the I can't make myself go to bed thing. Those are the two most common. I loved seeing people share resources that they like, as I'm seeing in here, this Calm app. I hear a lot of people like it. These sleep stories that they have, brilliant. These work like a charm for a lot of people. Okay. Netflix addiction. Oh my goodness. It's real. It's real. You're not alone. You're not alone. Okay, back to this. Okay, so sleep diary. This is my idea of the basic tracker. And I will happily put a one printable page of this that's 4 weeks in a row. I think you want to know when you went to bed. You want to know what time you got out of the bed, right? You woke up in the morning. You want to know, did I fall asleep relatively easily or not? 15 minutes, yes or no? 1 hour after you get up, you want to do like that check we did with ourselves. How do I feel? And just start to get sensory oriented about, do you feel rested? You can tally how much you slept and you can put a little note in there. Like I might put heartburn, or I might put, my elderly mother lives with us and sometimes she wakes up in the middle of the night, comes down the hall and turns on our light in the middle of 0 dark 30, right? So mom, right? How many times is it mom? That's how I developed my sleep routine of giving my mother a melatonin right after she has her dinner. And now she sleeps through the night more. So managing the things that impact your sleep might have to do with managing pets and people. It might have to. So this is what I think, right? You might think something different. This idea of getting a sense of if you're rested and what does it feel like. There could be a couple people in the room with a Garmin tracker or their Apple Watch, or they're using one of those Oura rings. My husband has an Oura ring. If everything disappeared and you started to know what it feels like in your body when you've had enough sleep, you don't need those tools. Are those tools helpful? Yes. I'm not taking those tools away from you, but having your own sense of rested. I'm going to confess here. I had this idea and I kind of, I'm a very optimistic person. So yes, I'm always a 3 or better, but I'm never really all the way a 5 for this rested. And then I got a little cold and I think I slept 10 hours. And then the next day, maybe 9. And then I got enough sleep. Then I was like, oh, this is what my body feels like when it's gotten enough sleep. So part of this, to me, is experimenting with too much, right? We usually, I just want the minimum. What's the, we're not going to be able to have the idea of what's the day when nobody gets fired versus optimal unless we've had a couple of days where we got more than the minimum. Okay, basic sleep tracker. Okay, oops, empty slide. Here we are, ADHD special concerns. So this is where we're going to jump into the ADHD universe part. So do these sound familiar? We're working memory, have a hard time remembering details, forgetful. You take action without you thinking about it. Oops, I'm on eBay, I'm just going to buy that, or Amazon, just get here tomorrow. Don't touch my coffee cup. Them's fighting words, right? Emotionally reactive, struggle with frustration, difficulty waiting your turn, impatient with yourself. Flexible thinking, hey, something changed. Oh, what do you mean the sub shop doesn't have tuna subs? That's what I always get, right? These are, when I haven't gotten enough sleep, these are the arenas where it really affects me. When we talk to experts around managing our ADHD, the first thing they'll tell you is get plenty of rest. Like, oh, that's easy. Low hanging fruit. No. So of course, exercise, mindfulness, time in nature, this vitamin C connection with people. All right, these are my guiding principles. You don't have to take them all on. I think they're helpful. They help me. Keep it simple. Whatever I'm doing, it can't be complicated. It has to be easy to explain, easy to do. I like to lean into the things I already have strengths around. I like to take a shortcut. I don't know if anybody else likes a shortcut. Like a habit stack, right? Oh, if I put that face cream that I need to use at night next to my toothbrush, then it'll just become part of that routine. I can roll it into that routine. Anything new I'm doing, it can't be a stretch. So I mentioned meditating 3 times a week. It has to be easy to do. No stretching. It can't be a stretch. It's not sustainable to me if I have to stretch. I like to build on success. Slow and steady wins the race to me. And then being kind. Being kind and having grace for missteps and mistakes, I think is crucial, because if we have all that internal energy being pulled away from us, drained away with our berating ourselves, if we can take a break from that and we can do some self-compassion or other things to cheer for ourselves, it makes a tremendous difference. Okay. Zip. So we're talking about executive functions and those things that the gaps I mentioned a beat back. So I've highlighted the ones that I noticed for myself are impacted by sleep. This is what I like to call the extended dance mix. There are some other versions of the executive function list that are not this many, but these all speak to me. Sometimes it helps to see more, right? Divergent thinking. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment and see, are there questions? I see a lot of great commentary, a lot of sharing resources, and still talking about the anxiety. I promise I won't forget about that. In fact, I'm going to make a paper note so that I don't forget about it. Just checking. Do I see any other? So since I was talking specifically about those flexible thinking, impulse control, this is the, what am I actually saying? What is the definition of these? All right, I'm going to pause for other people to read them. You know what reminds me, I forgot to say. I put the closed captions on for myself because I sometimes will follow my own thought and not hear what someone in the room has said. And it helps me catch up using that tool. And I invite you, if this tool would help you, that it's on and you could use it. I'm just going to pause for a moment so people can read those if they're not familiar with them. Can we get a, yeah, yes, I will share them with Beth and then you can all have them. Does that work for you, Beth? Is that the way to share them with people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Just
I'll-
checking.
I'll post them on the Seattle Chat website.
Excellent. Okay, so executive function details, right? Those are the details. Here we are, next thing. So remember all those things that we went through that were the basics? This one sheet has all of those 18 things, right? Sleep diary, exercise, everything's on that one little thing there. Sleep is a keystone habit. What can regular sleep do for you? Improve working memory, emotional regulation, improve focus and mood, and decrease impulsivity, right? So we knew what, if we didn't get enough sleep, that it kind of looks a lot like ADHD, but we do know when we are rested, these things are closer to optimal. All right. I said I was going to give us the bad news. Here's the bad news. So common sleep problems for ADHD adults: difficulty falling asleep and staying asleep. We've heard other people in the room say that. So not only do we know from crowdsourcing just this room, but this is known. Increased alertness or activity during evening hours. Sometimes our slang for this is second wind syndrome, right? Late bedtimes. One more fun thing, right? Difficulty waking up, whether we got enough sleep or not. There is some difficulty for people getting up. And then there's this tiredness despite sleep, not, sort of like a hangover, a little bit. Okay. And then common medical conditions: narcolepsy, restless leg, this teeth grinding, sleep paralysis, obstructive sleep apnea, and this delayed sleep phase. These are real. I got these from science. I didn't make these up. I do have a friend with the restless leg. There is medication for some of these things. These are the kind of things that let's say you were keeping a sleep diary because you're working on it, and you realize it's not that you're not putting yourself in the bed, that there's one of these things becomes revealed to you. I lost my train of thought. Let's come back to it. You'll want to take your sleep diary findings to the doctor, right? So if you use the piece of paper, or you have some way to show that you have a month worth, and they're going to want a month's worth. Yeah, that's what they want to know. They want to know a lot more than those 5 things that I thought we should track. So I'm going to give you a cheat sheet for that too. All right. Most common, these are what I run into. This is anyone, I'm talking about sleep all the time. People tell me their sleep stuff. Not going to bed when we intend to. Oops, I had that. Yeah, I'm not sure sleep paralysis. It was in the science, but I wasn't curious enough about it. But I love that you are, Sally. I know. I'm hoping someone in the room looks it up. It sucks. Someone knows what it is. Thank you for sharing that. You want to come off mute and tell us a little, or?
Oh, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
It's basically like you're stuck in a dream and you're aware that you're sleeping, but you can't move. And it often, if you have night terrors, at least I do sometimes, you're basically stuck in a nightmare and you can't physically move your body. It's very disorienting and very terrifying.
That sounds horrible. That sounds just horrible. Yeah. I mean, I've had vivid dreams where I realize I'm dreaming. Doesn't make it stop. I don't know how to wake myself up.
Yeah, the night terrors are something completely different other than nightmares or any other sleep disturbances. They're a special category to themselves.
They are.
And it's a shame if anybody has to know more about them than they should.
These are when we must take ourselves to an MD, to a medical doctor. These are not solvable. You can self-help all day and all night, but thank you so much, Tim, for letting us know what that is. And I'm sorry that you're so familiar with it. It doesn't sound like a nice time. Okay. Is it associated with PTSD or something else? Thems that know? Oh, and Suzanne's hand.
Go ahead. The sleep terrors? Is that the question? Is the
I
sleep?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally asked.
Sleep paralysis,
Oh,
Oh, I don't know about sleep paralysis.
which is associated with sleep terror,
I see.
pain in it.
Yeah. I mean, mine was related to PTSD. I got rid of the PTSD triggers and the sleep terrors went away. So I think it has to do.
wow. Thank you, Antonia, for this. I'm going to just read it out loud for us. It is when your sleep phase is off. There are two parts of sleep. One part starts sleep. Another starts REM, rapid eye movement sleep. To keep you from jumping out the window in a dream, your body paralyzes you and blocks
I
you
can
from
explain
moving.
it.
Yeah.
I can probably explain it a little bit better. There's
Really?
two parts to sleep. One is what kind of gets you to fall asleep, and that's when you have deep sleep, and your brain doesn't need to shut off any movement for that. But once there's another switch that goes off, which is I think run by orexin, and when that starts. When you start REM sleep, your body has to paralyze your body, otherwise you'll act out all your dreams, which is where you run into sleep movement disorders or sleepwalking. But if this doesn't shut off properly when the sleep switch turns off and when you wake up, then you get sleep paralysis. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my experience with the night terrors is that I never really ever got past 45 minutes. And it was like all night long. Every 45 minutes, I would wake up in some sort of traumatic jump out of bed, scream my head off, scare the hell out of the people in the house, hide behind the door because whatever was coming after me. And I am awake. I appear to be awake to anybody who's watching me. I haven't done it for about 15 years.
Well, let's hear it for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
15 good years. And I'm just looking back to see these other things.
It's exhausting.
Okay. Right, let's scoot back. I just want to make sure what else. And I want to say, folks, how do you know you're in the right place? I know this isn't part of my presentation, but I just would like to highlight it. You probably already know this. However, when you're in a room and you ask your question and someone else researches it, or someone's talking and they can't remember a name or a movie or anything, and someone else in there has their back, looks it up, finds it, triangulates it, right? These are how we know we're in the right spaces with people who have our back. So I'd just like to highlight that because not every space is like that. Yeah. All right, back to where we were. And I did see something about power outage, and I feel for you. Okay, so most common sleep problems in ADHD adults. It's not going to bed when we intended to. Sometimes we have our inside language. Hey, it's us, right? There's just us. Second wind syndrome, right? There is that idea of the bedtime procrastination. Not everybody identifies with that idea of revenge. I know I'm married to another ADHDer. He is much more of a Tigger archetype, full of beans, got a lot of energy. I'm much more of an inattentive type. But I remember he had said, please let me know when it's 10. I want to be going to bed at 10. And anytime I'd tell him, he would not only not go to bed, but then I might get grief. So don't tell me what to do, even yourself telling you, I don't want to do it. We somehow will just get our dander up. This craving of me time. There's probably quite a few caretakers in this room. I know there's some parents in here. And look, it's quiet. Oh, it's now nobody's here. I could do whatever I want, right? Just one more video game, something on your phone, Netflix, right? These are sort of little dopamine hits, and we just think, can I have one more little thing? And I'm going to use this technical term, which I shouldn't, because it's not, I'm not a therapist, but that idea of cognitive distortions, these little fibs we tell it, we kind of know they're a fib when we're saying it. I'll remember to do that. It doesn't matter right now. It'll be okay. It's only going to be 5 minutes. That's the cognitive distortion. It'll just be a minute, right? So those are the things that keep us from getting in bed. I'm going to share a little bit of what I learned about me time. When I have time that someone else is going to be caretaking my mom and I could do some creative activity on the weekend, 2 or 3 hours, when I know that's on the calendar, I am less craving, less making sure, less staying up. I'm going to get some good me time, and it's on my calendar. It doesn't always work, but it sometimes works. So I thought it's worth mentioning. Okay, what else we got? Now, we did have this on that other page, right? With the basics, but now we're getting a little bit more deep. This idea of a bedtime order of operations, something that helps you shift to it's bedtime, right? This could be for some of us sitting in our easy chair in front of the TV, could be, okay, it's fair game, right? Consider setting a getting ready for bed alarm. Now, I have a couple of guidelines, things to think about with that, because I have some other people I meet with and we talk about how's our sleep working, what strategy do we use, is it working? Once a week, I meet with some friends. And one person was setting the alarm an hour ahead of time and he would never make it. So he set it 15 or 10 minutes ahead of time. This understanding how much is enough warning for it to work, right? You think, oh, an alarm, that'll be great. But how many of us get bored or they start to ignore our alarms? So thinking about what works best for you with that kind of thing. Some people put their phone, right? Part of your bedtime routine is charging your phone or putting it in do not disturb mode. A lot of people think the phone doesn't want to be in the bedroom with you. It will help you sleep better if it's not nearby. I do not preach that because I set my phone to make no noise. So it's not bothering me. Knowing what works best for you. These things have to be tailor-made to us. We need everything bespoke, made for us, the thing that works for us. And when it stops working, we have to, what worked before? And usually we're just much more interested in a new solution, resolving this problem. We very rarely think what worked before. And then, assembling whatever your sleep tools are. What if you're using an audiobook to have some soothing thing happen while you're getting ready for bed? Where's your sleep mask if you need it dark? Where's your earplugs? Do you have a separate white noise machine or do you have an app on your phone? In my group of people that meet, one person has 2 I woke up in the middle of the night tools. One is a sleep story kind of thing where somebody will be talking and it's soothing and she goes to sleep. If she wakes up after that, she goes over to like a white noise or some sort of music, something like that. So you don't want to be trying to make a decision and look for the thing and do the research then, right? Because now you're down another rabbit hole. What you want is whatever you need to be nearby. Okay. Wake up order of operations. Really? Yes. Okay. Now this is the advice. I've always never used the snooze button. I never was a snooze person, but that's the thing they say. Don't use snooze. How you wake up sets the tone for your mood and energy a lot for the day. So keep it simple. Hot food, hot drinks, they help us achieve consciousness. I suggest, just for managing stress, that we're very choosy about what news we take in that first hour. You know, weather, traffic, right, things you're going to need in the next hour or two. No doom scrolling. Time outdoors. This, I know I feel like Huberman just did something on this, that a half an hour of daylight early in your day helps reset your circadian rhythm. And if you are tracking sleep using that tracker method I showed you, you want to wake all the way up before you start to think about and rate yourself on how rested. You're not all the way awake for a good 40. I know some of us feel like we're all the way awake, but not exactly. Okay. Now, remember I said if you had to go to the doctor, you would need to answer a lot more questions for the sleep tracker. This is the, I want to call it the extended dance mix, right? So there's a thing called the Pittsburgh scales that they're going to ask you for. If you do 4 weeks of tracking these questions that you see here, you will have answered what they're going to ask you. They also have questions for people who live in your house. They're not going to be able to answer from this, but they might not have ADD and they might be able to remember things, right? Okay, the chat looked like it blew up, but I didn't see what it was. Oh, thank you for sharing more Huberman wisdom. That's excellent. Okay, so what do they want here? I've highlighted the things I think are important. When did you get in the bed? When did you get out of the bed? Their scale's only to 4. And it's tired, very, very tired, rested, well rested. And I was thinking, no in the middle? Did you have a challenge getting to bed? What were you doing? That list is experience plus the actual questionnaire. Did I fall asleep within 30 minutes? Yes or no? If no, how long? That's what they're going to ask you. Did you take a sleep aid and what time did you take it? Right? They want to know that. If you're taking stimulant medication, you might want to put when you took that. Did you wake up and were you up for an hour or more? Right? How long were you up? Why did you wake up? Right? I've listed most of the things. You could still have some other thing. You want to be terse with this so that you can start to see trends, right? Bad dream, breathing. If you know you had that paralysis, hot, cold, snoring, pain, bathroom, anxiety, pet, partner. That seems like most things. You could always have your own special thing that wakes you up, right? So I have this and I'll put it in the chat so you can have this advanced sleep tracker. They want 4 weeks of data for this. Okay. So I did mention I had some things I did that really helped me. And a lot of those things were co-working, doing things with other people. So it makes things easier and fun. One of the things I do is I have 3 times a week and we come on the Zoom. We say what we're going to do for exercise. Then we mute and we turn off the screen and we go exercise. Some people stay on and talk to each other. One guy's outside having a walk. And so he's the greeter. A lot of people are doing PT, right? Those PT exercises that are 15 minutes. When am I going to do those? Hey, look, you're with your buddies. The other thing I do co-working is I do meditation, and I'm not the meditation leader. I use free resources and I'll share the ones I like towards the end. So that's how I solve those problems of how am I going to get the meditation and how am I going to get the exercise is I'm doing it with other people. Because, I mean, buddy system, as old as what works? Other people. We're not an island. Okay, so co-working, doing it together. You can do it in person, virtually, at the same time or not. You could just be texting your friend, I'm doing my walk outside now. But holding space for each other to be doing the ING things. So sleep, exercise, mindfulness, those are the 3 places where I'm doing it with other people mostly virtual. Bonus benefits of co-working. You got real friends, they might ask you things. They might say, didn't you solve this other way? Right. I have one person, I'll say I have a headache, and they said, did you take something? Do I not know to take something? Of course I know, but there's something about the other person makes it happen. I could sit all day with a headache and not take anything for it. So friends can help us identify these self-defeating thoughts of, I can't do it. I could never do it. Really? I've seen you do X and Y. They seem a lot like that. So other people can help us move forward, not just Tour de France where they're cutting the wind for us. That's part of this, but also they're human. They care about us. They ask questions. You have different things from talking to them. See this, friends can gently ask if we had working strategies that we've forgotten about. Yeah. Friends let us know we're not alone in our challenge. They're having their own trouble. They need the group to get going too. And sometimes people in the room have a habit you want, and it's okay to copy, right? Oh, look, this other person's like my future self. I want to be like that. So I could just copy. All right. Lessons I learned from doing buddy system. Having other people to exercise or meditate with is motivating. Like if it was just me, I would give myself another 15 minutes in bed. But because those other people are there, I get there. There's somebody who's a jokester. I mean, you see them and they make a joke. Now we're both smiling. The other people might notice things like, oh, you seem like you lost weight. Oh, your face looks smaller. Your face looks thinner. So other people reflect to us changes that we might not be tuned into. And it sure keeps a habit regular when you've got it on your calendar with your buddy. So I mentioned meditating and that I do it with a group. These are my faves. This Sharon Salzberg, Loving Kindness. This fella, Easy Peace, British Isles guy. He's got a metaphor for intrusive thoughts, like watching them drift by like a river. You don't have to give each one of them a lot of energy. You could just watch them drift by. I love him. Linda Hall, tried and true. She's just got her mojo. This one's a confidence booster. She says nice things. And then I love this Giovanni, The Space Between Thoughts, because our minds need something, right? That brings us to the meditation. Sometimes you could just be doing breath exercises that help yourself calm down or down regulate. I happen to like these, and I feel like I learned from working with other people that it's like music where you like Brit pop, maybe you like the Beatles in their day and you like Franz Ferdinand now, right? That you start to notice you like certain things in the meditation. You don't like it to have a large blank spot where they're not speaking to you, or maybe you do like that. So you start to have a better understanding about what works for you in your practice when you try the smorgasbord approach. These are other practices that I like a lot. So I talked about having some grace. If you've never had any grace for yourself, try this Kristen Neff self-compassion break. It just takes a couple of minutes. You can hear what it's all about. I like this Andrew Huberman's 10-minute non-sleep deep rest. Say you knew you got an insufficient amount of sleep, right? Let's put it that way. Something not enough. And you thought, what could I do for myself so my day isn't so terrible? If you took your lunchtime break and you just went for 10 minutes and did this non-sleep deep rest, it might give you a little bit more agency, facility in your day. I happen to like it. And we did box breathing earlier. This is 5 minutes the Navy SEAL way. So I'm gonna just drop these into the chat right now so people can have them who might like them. And then I'll go back to the other page. And I did see someone else loves Sharon Salzberg. It's so nurturing, so nurturing. Calming stories. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. So there are, let's see if I can stop touching that thing. Nope, we're in the I notice part. I promise I'll come back to that. Calming stories every night. I love that. So what did I notice from, first off, what I noticed is when I stopped doing the meditating, I had a really hard time getting myself to go to sleep. The meditating did something. I know it sounds completely counterintuitive to make a whole new habit in order to get the sleep habit to work, but it did. It really did. There's something about that ADHD fibs, right? 5 more minutes, that it had so much less weight when I'm meditating. Just, I could put that thing aside and actually go to bed when I'm meditating. So what I noticed when my sleeps improved is I can do the Wordle in my head versus paper. Now, I know that sounds like, really, Melissa? But this idea of making those things into words and using your working memory, it's a fantastic example of using working memory. I use the car horn less. Remember I said sometimes people get fired when you haven't had enough sleep? This is one of those things that I notice. Notice your own metrics. What is important in your house, right? So the car horn, right? Some of the time, yes, for safety, I still use the car horn, right? But for smooth move, X-lax, that goes away. That really goes away. I can sit at the red light and listen to the radio and not be like, when's it gonna change? I can listen to people all the way through their thought without having to share my thoughts. And my attention and focus, I did daily entries for 3 months. I do them in 3-month heats. After a while, you just can't keep looking at it. You need a little break, try working on some other thing, and then come back to it. Hopefully it's got enough mojo. And then this idea of flexible thinking. What do you do when something right in front of you stops working? You know, and nothing. No, I can try another method. So those are what I noticed for myself. And then I thought this was kind of important. And I think that this ideas is also thoughts. Thoughts don't equal action. Like we could be thinking that thing that we want to do, but it's not any further closer to happening when we, sometimes it is, right? But sometimes it just gets lost in the everythingness. All right, so this is this time that I set aside for this. And I knew I wanted to say one other thing, which was, what was my sweet spot for sleep? So 8 to 8.5 hours is the sweet spot for me. No one gets fired. What's the minimum? 7 hours. No one gets fired if I get 7 hours. When it's all going right, it's 8. It's more than 8. And I know that sounds a little excessive, but that's the whole point, is we don't know even what's the right amount, even the minimum for nobody to get fired, when we haven't tracked. Great question about this co-working group. So if you are using Meetup, right, to find Chad, you can look in there for walking groups, right, to exercise, for hiking. You might be able to find some meditation groups there. I think you can. I know there's a lot of other meditation resources. So if you start looking at Sharon Salzberg, for example, you'll run into other meditation groups and free meditation groups. So that's where I'd look for co-working groups. And of course, you could make your own group. You can always do that. I need a strolling group. Yes. Yeah. I got a New York friend who's always, he's got 2 or 3 hiking groups that he likes to do. So finding, oh, finding a group that where it's low impact walking. I like that. Okay, how do we join that? It's very, I see your comment about dyslexic brain. I'm only a good speller because I'm old enough now. I've memorized some of these words, right? I've learned how to spell them, but a lot of trial and error on my part.
Oh. Yeah,
Uh,
some of, yeah. Did you get Sally's question about calming stories for adults? It's something that I've looked for too.
Thought I had put it in here, but now I don't see it. But I do have an answer for that, so I'm glad you circled me back to it. The oh, it's funny. I think I took a whole slide out that had some of those things on it. So my husband likes Harry Potter, and he also likes Lord of the Rings. So he's got those as books on Audible that he has downloaded, and he'll play those. I'll sometimes come in, it's still on. That kind of book where you already know the whole story and it's got that kind of element. There is something called sleep stories. And I'm pretty sure there's a couple of different apps, like maybe Calm has sleep stories, but they're called that, exactly that, sleep stories. And there is a podcast. There are a few of these podcasts, or maybe you might find them on YouTube, of sleep things. I know Renify, whom I do some work with, they have, their YouTube channel has got like rain noise, hours of rain noise that might be soothing. They've got like a horse galloping. Somebody likes horses, like that might be soothing. So I would look in those arenas for sleep stories. And then I've seen some people like to go to sleep to positive affirmations. So that's another thing I've heard people going to sleep to. The radio used to be nice, but now it says scary news, so it's not as good as it used to be. We had one other question around anxiety, so I wanted to circle back with that. I'd mentioned my friend who does, if she wakes up, she's got tool number 1, and then she has tool number 2. I think one might be a sleep story, and then the other one is a sound, is maybe a white noise or music, something without words. There's a lot of ways for self-calming and I'm not the most resource. There's more resources than me. There's some visualization techniques for calming yourself. Imagine. It's all right. Everything's peachy. I have a visualization I've used since I was in my 20s. I'm in Maine. It's a sunny day. I am walking where there's trees, and so there's dappled light. I imagine the dappled light. I'm near a river. I hear the river sounds. I make sure to notice all my bodily sensations, and do I hear birds of the river? I'm walking on a gravel path, so there's the gravel noise. And then I'm walking to an old barn, and then if I get all the way into the old barn, usually I fall asleep before then, I walk into a dream. It has, you know, the beams don't all meet, so there's that sort of light that comes in, and so I'm either asleep inside the barn or I walk into a dream. But finding a visualization, and elements about visualization that work is bringing it to more than one sensation. The dappled light for eyes, maybe the feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, or a breeze, the sounds of it, the gravel, the river sounds, all those elements help for it to be the most calming. So I love that visualization. That's my go-to, because it was a real place. It doesn't have to be a real place. It does help if it can cue these sensory memories. Breathing exercises, the box breathing's one. There's those other breath exercises, 4, 7, 8, in for 4. Hold for 7, out for 8. That's going to down regulate you. There's some other polyvagal techniques, which I would suggest you bring in an expert to talk about that. The breathing things are terrifically helpful. You want a pattern interrupt from when the anxious thoughts are circling. And I can ruminate and keep myself up all night. That's why I have that visualization technique I use. Okay, there's a lot of things happening over here. Nurturing, for one, is not the same. I agree. That's why the smorgasbord approach, what's going to work for you? I really like that you pointed that out. FocusMate is a great resource for co-working. There is even like an exercise buddy thing that I found when I looked around at one point. I agree, Eric, that these improve sleep. There is studies that the improve sleep. I can't name them. My memory is not tip top for that right this second, but I appreciate you mentioning exactly where
No, I'm sorry to throw that out. I mean, like Beth can wring my neck. I'm a research kind of a guy. I been in Chad a while and worked in schools where I had a lot of fellow teachers just deny the whole thing was everything was real. Everybody had to have proof. So in my Chad career since now for 15 years, whatever the topic, I try to like back it up. And it's just, I was doing this as the meeting went along. And this research is hard to find that, some doctor has like said, aha, it's going to decline by this number of points on the rating scale. But that research is hard to find. I mean, there's a lot of research, it seems, that where ADHD and sleep go hand in hand, as you outlined for us the whole night here. And it's wonderful. You have this group of 20 people hanging in, and the whole orientation is to self-help and to do all this sharing. It's tremendous. You yet again, because like Beth, all these, I've been to a number of meetings of hers now, and she's batting 1,000 with these meetings with these topics and her guests and stuff. I'm glad, so, but I couldn't, I was trying to find research, and maybe it was unfair to throw that question at you. So
It's okay.
yeah.
I appreciate, but when we're obsessed with the thing and we've been looking, I can't find anything. I will say Google Scholar makes it a lot easier to find the studies. And there's a lot more studies on some things because of pandemic. As anything that is impacted by stress, there's all of a sudden a lot more information out there than there used to be.
Eric, you are always welcome. Your input is always welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, so please bring it. I love it. And by the way, I think in Florida, you should be asleep by now.
That's what I thought you were going to say that to me. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's not midnight. I don't know.
He doesn't even have ADHD, people.
Well, let's
but
move
you
on,
are
I guess.
always welcome. So
thanks for letting me off the hook, and another nice meeting with nice people.
Yeah,
thank you. I just want to validate what you're saying. How many places we've been where people will deny there's ADHD is real or other things, and I appreciate you mentioning it, right? Because it's in our real worlds, right? And sometimes we have to cope with and address those things. So is there some science I can use? For sure. I also noticed Evan had put something in about scent. I find scent very, very stimulating. So I want no smells, no bad smells, no smells. But it's
I had just heard that there's research on it. I went looking for it after you and I talked the other night, and got lost down a rabbit hole and came back and left. But it's, I think what it's tied to is a reduction towards dementia as well.
The olfactory is one of the more primitive parts of our brain. And so when we can tap into this deep wiring that will help us move forward with something, I power to us if we can tap into that. Near Rockport, Maine. So I see a question in the chat, near Rockport. And that's the other thing I noticed about the mindfulness. I mean, we'll hear people, you need to do it 7 days a week, or it has to be a certain amount. And you know, what's the minimum? I do it at least 3 times a week. It works. Would it be better to do it more? Sure. Absolutely. Sometimes people make it so rigid that we think if we can't do 100% of what they're saying, why bother? But a little goes a long way with these mindfulness and breath things for sure. I have not dabbled in this hypnosis. I do know people who do hypnotherapy, but I can't speak to anything about hypnosis and sleep. I no knowledge in that. I am so excited to see this ASMR. So when I mentioned that Renify has those freebies, I'm going to pull up the link because they have some ASMR stuff in the Renify YouTube channel that's free. I'll just put the link in there so you can find it on your own. Jill, do you want to say anything more about this resource? This Calm EMDR gentle music?
Hi. Let's see, where's my video? There's my video. I've been playing around with Calm for a while now. I get anxiety attacks, so I've been using the EMDR feature of it to mellow myself down. And it has some stories on there. The voices are so calm. I mean, I'm asleep in like less than 15 minutes, which is really hard for me to do. They also have music. The EMDR is really cool. You have to wear headphones, or I actually have sleep headphones. And it actually goes from one ear to the other, so you're focusing. And I've actually started using it a little bit when I'm anxious, when I go to bed too. And it has a lot on there. It just has a ton of stuff. It has the music, very nice melodic tones and stuff, nothing heavy. And then it has actually stories you can play for your kids to get them to go to sleep. But then it has a couple of those stories. I wouldn't call them adult stories. I'm not too sure what defines adult stories, but the stories that they have, one set of stories is mysteries. I'm a mystery buff, so I thought that's a good thing for me to listen to. So that's what I use for Calm for audiobooks. I know it's going to sound weird, but Hugh Fraser is an actor that was on the Perot series out of Britain. He actually narrated a lot of the Agatha Christie books, and his voice is so gentle and calm. And so I have like, I don't know, 10 books or so, and that I can put it on, and then some of them I can actually do for 2 nights in a row, and I put it on 75 as opposed to full speed. I put it on 0.75 so that it's slowed down, and it really is like perfect. So those are the main resources I use.
That's
It's just staying
terrific.
asleep I got to do.
I've found that putting almost anything down to 3/4 speed slows me down. So it's fine. I had forgotten about that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, it really works for me.
I am really happy that you shared the thing that works for you, and all of what is available on Calm. I've heard a lot of people like it. I'm just not that into my phone as other people. And I feel like I dodged the bullet in a lot of ways. Like maybe I don't want to pull up some new habits that way. I put the sleep tracker in. I know they're labeled a little funky, but the sleep tracker that is the most basic one just says sleep tracker. And then this one that's labeled basic, this is the one that this is the more detailed one. I hear great things about Insight as well. I do. I hear a lot of good stuff about that. I have been trying out something called Rise. I have ambivalent thoughts about it. I like the colors that it is, and what it does is an hour before you went to sleep yesterday, it says this is the right melatonin window for going to sleep now. But it also tells me 2 or 3 other things during the day, which I think if they didn't nag me during the day, it would be better. They're like, oh, this is your best productivity window in the morning. This is your best productivity in the afternoon. And it's too many notes from them. I wish they only sent me one thing. But I do like the colors. I think that not being annoyed by the colors is important. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Any other questions? Did I not answer anything? I want to make sure I circle around and collect anything I didn't answer.
Can I say something? This is Vishal.
Please.
Yeah, it was some things that helped me, and I mean, thank you so much, by the way, for this meeting. And is ASMR, which you guys may have heard of. And there's one particular guy called the French Whisperer, and his stuff is really good. And he has something on Calm app as well. And if you like mythology or stuff, he tells stories about that, and that helps me to sleep. Now, one can get used to that as well. And right now my dad's living with me, and he's going through stage 4 cancer. It's been very stressful. So, and sleep's been really hard for the last 6 months. It goes up and down, and so I guess some variety is necessary. One question I had was, you mentioned, or somebody mentioned about yeah, thank you for whoever put that. That was nice. The Insight Time, is that an app, Insight Timer? What is the Insight Time?
It's an app. Insight
It is an
Timer.
app, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. And what is what was the other question I had? Yeah, what is binaural and bilateral music? What is that?
This is very in style. I know I went and listened to it and it didn't exactly speak to me. I know it has no words, and there's a lot of people who really like it for relaxing. I'm pretty sure you could just cut and paste that into YouTube and find something to listen to. Liva, do you know it? Erica, you know it. Can you tell us about it? Somehow you're muted. Somehow we don't hear you. Oh, go into the settings and choose a different audio. Mine does that all the time on Zoom.
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it. No, it's the machine.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. It's because I have speakers. I forget I have to turn them off. Are you able to hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used the binaural or bilateral, where the sound goes back and forth between your ears. And yeah, there's just something about it that I found, depending on the music, can be very sort of soothing or relaxing, but I've also used some that can be somewhat stimulating. Like there's one I use where it has like a beat to it. And that I've used that a little bit when I'm like, I wanna kind of get myself going a little bit more into focus. So I've only started exploring it, but I'm just thinking it's really cool.
Remember I used that word bespoke, right? That's when you have a suit made for you. They measure you, they make it right for you. We need to try the smorgasbord. We have to taste these other things to learn what works for us. And it could be, it's a sound here, moves around. Hey, that turns our brain on, or it helps soothe it. So trying things, really important. And that's the other thing of being in these spaces. I said the 2 or 3 things that work for me, and then other people put stuff in the chat about what works for them. So this is a great place to mine for resources, what other people like me listening to or doing to calm themselves. I knew there was something I wanted to circle back to. So Evan had put in very early on that he'll wake up in the middle of the night and then he thinks it's morning and He's thinking about a lot of stuff. So I did mention that friend who wakes up and then has the A tool, right? Something with a calming story, and then the B tool, something that was a calming sound. To me, what I hear and what you're saying, not a doctor over here, is that your mind is racing. You wake up and your abruptly mind is racing. So you want some sort of pattern interrupt, but you also want to go to. You don't have to look hard for it. It's something nearby. You might want to set up Audible book with the speaker, something you've heard before, and maybe it's dry, maybe it's one of these calm app with the sleep stories. So you wake up, you just turn that thing on that's soothing, just go straight to it, because once it's racing, how are you going to interrupt that pattern? It's tricky. But once you find one thing, it's like a wedge in the door, and then, all right, well, what other things will wedge that door? What other things are going to work in that circumstance? And then I wanted to say, I see this losing track of time at bedtime and my daughter waking up all night. So I mentioned my mother waking up. So my solution for my sleep problem of her waking me up was to manage her sleep, right? She gets a melatonin, and my bedtime routine starts as soon as I finish making her dinner, right? Because that's part of my bedtime routine, is to give her the melatonin. Yeah, I want to talk about pets. I know I didn't talk about it exactly, but some people have cats or dogs that wake them up and need to eat. Change when that animal eats. Feed them before you go to bed, so they stop waking you up to get fed. Yeah, it's tricky because they already got you trained, and it's hard for you to train them. All right, there was one other thing I wanted to do, which is, we got all the way through this, that, and the other. I invite you to, oh, that's where I hit it. Now I see it. I invite you to do another check-in, right? We can use the chat for that. How are you feeling now? You can use my scale: 5, full of beans, energized, ready to go, buoyant, mood-wise. 1, tired, fatigued, out of gas. This was a long lecture. I'm sleeping listening to you, Melissa. Okay, that's fine. But noticing where we're at. So I think I came in around a 4. I still feel maybe even a little more energized because we've been sharing ideas and what works for each other. So I put myself at maybe a 4.5. But noticing, and what, if you're feeling maybe lower energy, but more hopeful, hey, I've had a lot of hope because there's people in the room were sharing things with me. So trying to not only notice how you feeling, but was there a cause in the matter that you could recreate that? Oh, I could be around spaces where people are nice to me and I don't have to mask, right? Oh, yes. More relaxed. Oh, yeah. The phone doesn't let you save the chat. That's true. The phone doesn't let you save the chat. Automatic pet feeders. See, another brilliant person in the room.
Good idea.
There are a lot of people. This is why to bump up against the other potatoes, because sometimes somebody else already solved that problem for themselves, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just, oh, look, they got a wheel. I'm going to get a wheel too. And I see Erica put in here, found playlists for that binaural music on Spotify. Yes, you don't have to learn all of the music or the musicians. You can find a playlist. Anything that is no stretching. Remember my guidelines. You don't have to stretch. Maybe you can find a shortcut. Yeah, slow and sustainable. Way to go. And I love this idea of Tom Sawyer, right? This idea of, I know that story. I know, I can just listen to it, and I don't, if I fall asleep, I come in and he's got Harry Potter on, maybe I'll play the same part 2 days in a row because he fell asleep and didn't hear any of it.
For the pets, I recently discovered this. If anybody has a cat, you might be familiar with the Falloway diffusers. For dogs, there is a diffuser as well. It's not fell away. It's a lot less expensive, but it helps the animals relax, less anxiety when I leave, and sleep in the morning.
Thank you so much, people in the room, for helping each other.
Yeah, thank you.
Another indicator you're in the right place. Yeah.
You guys can find Melissa on YouTube, Conversations with Melissa. She does what I consider to be kind of like a podcast style conversation. It's every Sunday evening, right?
Most Sundays, yeah.
It's like she gets some really great guests, and
This
she does a
person is
great
my
job
guest.
of-
Tamara is my guest
There you
on
go. Yeah.
317. So Your Brain's Not Broken, Dr. Tamara Rossier. And I'm speaking with this English author this Sunday. Sit Still, Timmy. Tim. So diagnosed at 58. Woo!
And
Thank you.
check out LA Chat on Meetup. They've got an incredible number of really rich type meetings for so many different like just about every kind of ADHD meetup, body doubling, pro productivity, sleep, ADHD and sobriety, all kinds. It's a really rich community, and they've been supporting Seattle Chad over the last several months, and it has been such an infusion of just, I don't know, just insights and support. I really appreciate it. So thank you, Suzanne.
It's our pleasure. We love you.
All right, everybody. I will figure out where on the SeattleChad.com website we'll be posting. It'll be the first time that I've posted a recording of a Seattle Chad meeting on the website. So it'll probably initially be on the front page and then go to the meetings section. And then I'll talk with Melissa if she'd like it on YouTube on on her channel, or I'll create a Seattle Chad channel on YouTube as well.
Great. Hi, can I ask another question to Vishal?
You bet.
This is so good. This is my first time, but I signed up on the Chad Seattle a long time back, and I happened to see it today. And how do I get in touch with folks on this call? Because it's like, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, we have a kind of a online, offline chat groups that I host on WebEx. It's like Discord, but I do it on WebEx. And also Denisa has volunteered to start taking on the in-person Seattle meetup. So I think it's the fourth Thursday of the month. We're going to start meeting in person at Art Marble 21 down in South Lake Union. So where are you located, Vishal?
Lake Forest Park.
Okay, well, South Lake Union is not too far away.
Yeah, it's not that far. So I joined like 20 minutes late, and sorry about that. Is Melissa, is she from LA or Seattle?
She is.
I live in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay. Okay, gotcha.
But my in-laws are up your way.
Okay. Nice. No, thank you so much. It was really good, actually. I have to, and you give a lot of suggestions. One of the things has been for me, and I'm 50 years old, and one of my passions is to collect information, and I've done that all my life, and it's so hard to follow, actually do something, take action. But what I got from here is just, even if I can do one or two, I'll be okay. I don't have to feel guilty. I didn't do everything.
Give yourself a break, man. This is hard.
This is hard. I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
feel
want to
really bad
just
when I
do
don't
a
follow.
little bit, a little.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Glad to
We're
have you
rooting
here.
for you.
All right. I
All
think we're good. I think
People
that's a
waving.
wrap.
Yep.
Alyssa, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Happy to. Sorry if I went too long. I just wanted to make sure I got all the little pieces.
Not at all. We almost always go 90 minutes. It's,
I know.
it's
I try to
this-
manage
the
people's
content's important.
expectations.
Yeah, the content's important to us. Yeah, and anybody that's in Seattle, it's gonna be, I guess, the 28th. We'll be down at Art Marble at 7 p.m. And Evan, I won't miss you this time. Let's see what else. Parents and adult support groups on the 21st. And I'm trying a new volunteer hangout on the second Thursday of each month. It's kind of like a body doubling because I'm not getting my Seattle Chad work done on a regular basis like I should. So on Thursday, the second Thursdays of the month, 7 p.m., it's going to be do stuff for Seattle Chad. So if you want to come hang out with us and bring your special talent to help with the mail list or who knows, sort data, organize the meetup groups, you name it. The the chat groups, there's something for everyone. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of the week. Wait, we have one more day. And then we're going to lose an hour. Excellent news. Sorry to bring you down.
It's just the impact to sleep when you do the daylight savings time, and not just for us. I mean, everybody, the
Yeah.
accidents, all the rest of it.
Heart attacks, you name it. I think that's why the Sleep Foundation has named March Sleep Awareness Month, and Sleep Awareness Week starts the 10th, which is why it was so important to have you here. And then it's also bed month, so why not?
Yes, well, having the sleep haven makes all the
Make it a
difference.
sanctuary, yeah. Make it a haven, guys. It makes a difference. All right, off y'all go. Take care.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.